this is Kuhle Ngulebe with Hunt.Hard Outdoors, and today I'm going to give you another arrow basically comparison between it looks like 7 different arrows. Some of them are older, some of them just came out new, but I feel like I've had enough time behind all of them except for one. But we can start out with, of course, everybody's rant and rave, the UV 1K. So this one, I've liked it. I don't shoot it anymore, partially because for one, cost, and two, it really just didn't meet whatever I wanted, which I like to stay between 425 grains and 450 grains. So if you like heavier arrows, this one would be a really good option, just because you get the 50 grain stainless steel outsert, which is great. It does cover, it is a tough arrow. I did put air razors on the end because I wasn't going to pay what they want for the wraps and their fletchings. Not saying that they aren't great, because they are. They look really good with the wraps. I'm not a wrap guy, but definitely one to look at. So key points with this, it is a 1K weave, so it is a very tight carbon weave within the arrow, so it does make it stronger. It is marked for the spine. It goes right down the center. I think they did an awesome job, you know, just aesthetically. Whenever that spine is straight up and down, you have that Ultraview showing. And I think Victory, it is made by Victory, but Victory has always done a really good job at doing the spine alignment and making it aesthetically pleasing on the side. So Ultraview did do a good job selecting a company like Victory to make and design the arrows. So this one, like I said, isn't my favorite. I would probably rank it out of the 7 here, probably at 6, just because it's not very cost friendly. However, if you don't have an arrow saw, if you don't have anything else like to build your own arrows, woo, Jumbo, then these are an awesome option, because you can just get them cut, sent to you, ready to rock, and they're all gonna be the same. So that's one beauty of the UV culture. So I would, like I said, it ranks number 6 on this. I'm not gonna say that it's a bad arrow, because it's not. It's just, if you throw a 100 grain point on this, you're looking right, I think, around that 14% FOC, and it's just not my favorite. So I did look up the spine. So at 250, you're gonna be at a 10.0 GPI. 300, you're gonna be at 8.7 GPI, and a 350, you're gonna be at 8.0. So really, for the shorter draw lengths and lighter poundage people, this would be great, because you could still get that in my opinion, that 425 to 450 grain for like elk, deer, anything like that. It's still going to be light enough to get you some speed out of it. So Ultraview UV 1K, I'd say, like I said, ranks number 6 out of all these arrows right now. The next one I'm going to talk about is the VAP TKO. So this is the arrow that I started out with. I really like it. It's probably, for a 4mm, it's my second favorite 4mm, but it's also, I think it's probably the toughest 4mm. It's also a Victory arrow. Also comes with your spine alignment. This is the elite version. Victory has an elite, a sport, and a gamer, so everyone can kind of get into them. They're not overly expensive. They glue really well, and they hit the mark perfect for me. I cut these arrows, I believe, are right at like a 28 inch. If you have the 50 grain aluminum half out that comes with these, they come in, I think, right at that 450 mark. So it's pretty close to the UV 1K. I chose the 34 grain that Victory offers. I don't even know if they offer it anymore. I got a plethora of them. So, but this is, and all this was a recommendation to me, and I absolutely loved it. I shot it out of my Matthews V3X, and quite honestly, I don't know really why I stopped shooting them. I think it was just because I found other options that I liked better for what I chose. But with this setup right here at about 28 inches of total arrow length, that's carbon to carbon with a 34 grain half out, it was like sitting right at 14% FOC, and it was right at 425. So perfect for me. You can do the math for yourself with whatever you want to run on the outside. If you want to run their new, or what comes with it from the factory, then that's great too. You're going to be up there a little bit higher, probably around that 440 mark, but still a great arrow. Love it. And it's very versatile. So these ones, you can get a plethora of spines too. You can get the 250 or a 175, which comes in at 13.1 GPI, 235 spine, 11.1, a 300 spine, 9.5, 350, 8.7, 400, 7.9, and 500, 8.0. So yes, this would come in very close to the Ultraview. However, being a 4mm, even though there are, not a ton of options whenever it comes to outserts, inserts, things like that, there's still options. The 4.5, there's just, you have to get what they offer. These ones you're able to, kind of make your own. If you want to do a Snyder core, if you want to run the 34, if you want to run their factory 50 or somebody else's factory, whether that be Easton, which makes a great half out. But yeah, this ranks number 2 on my list. Actually, number 3. I'm gonna go with number 3. It's pretty close, but you'll see why here in a little bit. But yeah, VAP TKO, awesome. The next one up is probably the most expensive one on here. Little cheaper than Ultraview, but not by much. So this is the X10 Parallel Pro. So this is a carbon outside with an aluminum inside. So there's aluminum coming in. I don't know if y'all can kind of see that. Probably not. I don't think it's going to focus in on it. But there is an aluminum shaft that runs through the center of this. And obviously it's hollow, but the carbon wraps around it. This arrow right here very quickly became my favorite arrow that I've ever shot. When it comes to consistency, it's almost unmatched. I mean, just arrow weight for arrow weight. When you cut them, that can kind of get squirrely sometimes. I'm running the half out from Easton, 55 grain aluminum. I wish there was a lighter option, but with 4mm, like I said, with the VAP, you're kind of limited. But they make probably the best half out in my opinion. I do have Victory half outs, not my favorite, but they're very similar. I put the Atlas vanes on it, which if you haven't tried the Atlas vanes, I would definitely try it. This year I'm not going to be using a 4mm. I really thought about using this X10, but I didn't have any, there's a dang mosquito. I didn't have any elk hunts. So it's basically just deer. In the unit that I'm hunting deer in, it's probably going to be an extended shot, so I went with speed. That's really what I like, is speed out of my bows. So whether it be my Realm SR6 or my Revolt, I have it in performance. I want to get the most speed so that if that deer does take steps, those pin gaps are smaller. So this arrow right here with the 300 spine, where I'm sitting at with it, I was right at 450. For elk, I don't think I would choose a different arrow because I really liked this arrow. Whenever you throw a 125 on the end of it, you're at like 470-ish with the 50 grain or 55 grain half out. But I can't say enough good out. It's a phenomenal arrow. I see why a lot of people enjoy them. They are pretty durable. I've had one go through a tree, through a sapling, and it was sticking in the middle of the sapling, pulled it out, spun just fine. And I really like the X10. It's gonna go at the number 2 spot for me, just because of the fact that it does limit you to a certain, like that 450, very similar to the Ultraview. However, the reason that the Ultraview was knocked out is just options. There's not a whole lot of options for it. This one at a 28-inch cut arrow, you know, you're sitting right there, maybe 344-ish. You throw 125, like I said, you know, you're gonna be at that, that 472 grain arrow, but you're gonna have a really good FOC mark on it. Phenomenal arrow. Can't say enough good things about it. Like I said, you can throw in a Snyder core or something in here and get it running and rocking just fine. Really, really, if I ever draw out for an archery elk tag, this would be the arrow I'd probably go with, unless there's something that comes out that I just love more. The next one is going to be from Mamba, which they changed their name, and they're not really a company that a lot of people have heard of. Their new name is Kuhle, I think is how you say it, Kuhle. I actually got this arrow. It was supposed to be in my first arrow comparison, but it took forever for them to ship them to me. In fact, whenever the box got here, I forgot that I even ordered them. But this is the Ngulebe. It's going to be very, very similar to a RIP TKO. These are also made by Victory. It is a woven shaft. So, man, these mosquitoes are bad tonight. He wanted the blazer veins. I don't see an issue with a blazer vein. Most people, you're not going to tell. They're not my favorite by any means, but for the everyday guy, there's really no options that would probably beat it for the price too. So the Ngulebe is, like I said, it's going to be very similar to a RIP TKO. You're going to get their half out. They now come with the new system. You're going to either get a 2-piece or a 1-piece. This one is the 2-piece. So there's an insert that goes in, and then this collar that goes over it. I don't know if I went over the X10, but the X10, you have a 250 spine, a 300 spine, 340, and a 380. Looking at 10.8, 9.5, 8.9, and 8.3. The Ngulebe, you're going to have a 250, a 300, a 350, and a 400, sitting at a 9.0 GPI, an 8.0 GPI, a 7.5, and a 7.2. So the reason I recommended this arrow and got it for my brother-in-law was mainly the GPI. So he's shooting a slower bow, not that, you know, at the time it was a super fast bow, but it's a slower bow, so I can get the GPI lower, get it to where I need it to with a great FOC, and get that arrow moving downrange. I've seen from chronograph data that you can still get very good kinetic energy out of these arrows, even downrange with speed. So I wanted to get a light GPI that I could still get him into that 400 grain, you know, area, because he does have an Elcott, and I really think that this arrow will be just fine for it. It comes in at like that number 4 spot, maybe even number 5, just because I think the RIP, depending on what your bow is, like if you have a slower bow, this one's going to be almost the same as a RIP. However, I think the RIP system is a little bit better on the half out. This is going to be a steel insert, so it's kind of like sticks, it's going to be in there, and it's an insert, and then an aluminum collar. And but awesome arrows. Like I said, it's made by Victory. Some of their arrows are not made by Victory. I'm not sure who they're made by. It might be Easton, it might be Black Eagle, but they do look great. The packaging, it's just kind of arrows in a box. And then I got a little worried because I couldn't find the outserts. With the new company, it might be different. I haven't ordered any from the new company, Kuhle, but definitely would recommend this arrow. I really like it. If you kind of want a, they do have one arrow. Hopefully I can get it next year. I don't want to change my setup now. That I'm really curious to try, because I think it's basically the VAP, but a little bit different. Like So even at the 250 spine, you're going to be really low GPI. You can get this thing cooking out there. May even make a phenomenal tack arrow. It's not quite as light as, like, say, the RIP XV, but I do like how it's a woven shaft. I've always been a woven shaft person just because I've seen the way that these break off, and I would rather have this than banana peel. And I do think they might be a little bit tougher than just a standard shaft that's not a woven carbon. But this is, like I said, Mamba / Kuhle Ngulebe. If I get that other arrow this year, maybe towards the end of the year, I'll maybe do a review on it after I get some. And then my favorite arrow to date is the Easton 50. I don't know what they did with this thing. I was a little concerned about the hit insert and collar system, but once you learn how to put in a hit and the collar, I don't really want to go back to a half out at all. Like, this system is awesome. The way that it sits in there is so flush. You can really tell just how much thought they put into that system. But with the Easton 50, you're like right in between the HLR and the RIP TKO. And this one, for what I like, once again, this is what I like, not what everybody likes. That 425 to 450 range for everything, this hits the mark. Like, perfectly hits the mark. Now, it is a little light with a 100 grain field point, but I think it comes in at like 411, maybe 413. But with it's still hitting like a 15% FOC. And then once you get to the 125, which is what I'm currently running, it comes in at like 434 grains, and it's like 15 or 16% FOC. GPIs, it's not the lightest GPI out of this entire system, or the ones that I'm comparing, but once again, this is my favorite arrow. It does come with AE hybrids, which is awesome. I was told that they come in left helical. The ones that I got in the mail were right, but that's okay. A lot of people shoot right helicals. I prefer to shoot the way that my arrow clocks. I do have one complaint about the Easton 50s, is whatever they fletch these things with, and whatever they put on the end of this shaft, like probably this bottom 4 or 5 inches, it is a pain in the butt to get off. But other than that, I love everything about this arrow. It easily became my favorite arrow. Now, if you get the match grade, they come with the hits. If you get the standards, they come with, like, a 50 grain aluminum half out. So it's going to be not the new ones that slide over the end, like the one that I showed you on the Easton. It's just going to be a half out. So it's just going to stick out there. You can throw a collar on it, I guess, if you want. But this collar, everything about this arrow, I've really, really loved. Even the consistency. You know, they claim to not have to, they don't have a spine because it comes out of the mandrel. And I personally have not seen, like, I did some knock tuning with these, and I didn't see a difference. I did talk to a guy who did knock tuning with them, and he said that he saw a difference. Personally, I didn't see a difference. I thought they all shot good, you know, just cut, put together, throw a tip on there, and roll with it. But the Easton 50, you're gonna have a 200, a 250, a 300, a 340, a 400, and a 500 spines. Heaviest being 10.6 at the 200, 9.5. This is a 300, so I'm shooting an 8.4, a 7.5, a 6.8, and a 6.2. So it really hits the mark for everybody, even those 80-pound guys, or you got to bump up to that 250 spine because your bow is fast enough, or is putting out a good IBO. Like I said, this is the arrow I will be hunting with this year. I'm super stoked for it. One thing I have noticed between all of these, well, I guess I'll get to that at the end, but I really, really like this Easton 50. I think it's great. I think it'd be awesome for anything. Like, if you want to shoot 3D with this, phenomenal. You want to go hunt with it, phenomenal. You're not gonna have to change your setup. You're not gonna have to change anything. It's light enough. It's cooking out of the bows, and it's a tough arrow. It really is just a tough arrow. Once again, running the Atlas veined on them. IP 5 knock. Really like those knocks. They're light. Does a phenomenal job. They come with a Easton's new, I think it's called the M knock, but I actually run them on my another arrow that I'm going to show you, just because they look good on them. But yeah, definitely my number one Easton 5.0, not even close. Besides the X10, and then tried and true, the RIP TKO. So I shot the RIP TKO a lot. I have my dad shooting the RIP TKO. I was almost going to put this arrow for my brother-in-law before the Mamba. If you look at the carbon weave between this and the Mamba, it is different. But I have been told that they are made by Victory. Aesthetically, the RIP TKO looks a lot better. I'm running air razors on this. It comes with, this is the 50 grain. I did hear that they're gonna be coming now, so I guess it's whenever you order them. They're gonna be coming with the HLRs, the 50 grain that just kind of slides over. Personally, I like this system a lot better. I know it's aluminum, and I know a lot of people are scared of aluminum, but I've shot this aluminum half out, and it is tough. I don't like it as much as the Eastons, just because of weight differences, but I truly like this system a lot better than what the HLR comes with. In fact, I even thought about ordering some of these and putting them on an HLR. It's not going to change anything, but the issue that I think I was going to run into was how far back it was. I like getting my arrows short. But yeah, the RIP TKO, you're gonna have a 3K weave. So you're gonna have the same woven carbon as the VAP, as the Mamba, but I think the only one, nope, there's one more that has a tighter weave pattern. But the RIP TKO is gonna be very, very similar to the HLR. The HLR is gonna be a lighter shaft, so once again, it's gonna get in there, but for a do-it-all arrow, the RIP TKO is hard to beat. Right there at 100 grain tip, 28 inches, 50 grain half out, you're going to be right there at that 15% FOC. You're going to have, I believe, 425. Even with the air razors, it'll fluctuate depending on what vein you have. I really do like the air razors though. Shot them all last year. But the RIP TKO, so you're going to get your 50 grain outsert, 200, 250, 300, 350, and 400 spines, 10.6, 8.9, 8.8, 8.7, and 9.0. So it's a little bit heavier than your Easton 5.0. It's right about the same as the Mamba. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that is like the RIP TKO, just a little bit lighter whenever you get into the other spines. Really, really like this arrow. If someone asks me or is getting into archery and they want a arrow and they don't know what to go with, this is immediately what I say. I say go with the RIP TKO. You won't be disappointed. They're tough as nails. I mean, they are stupid tough. Probably the toughest arrow I've ever tested. I don't think I've ever broke one, honestly. I think I've just lost them. If you go watch the video before, like, they stayed consistent throughout the whole thing. The original test, whenever I was shooting them out to range, I don't think I was running air razors on these. At the time, I might have been running blazers. But the RIP TKO is kind of your default, and it's my default. Like, if I don't know what to go with, I'm gonna run the RIP TKO. If I can't get a bow to shoot something, I'm gonna go with the RIP TKO. I've really started to like the 5 mils. I was kind of stuck on 4s for a while, but I really do like the 5 mils. You get a lot more options. I would be very curious to see this with a hit insert. how great it would do. But yeah, so RIP TKO, it's kind of in its own league. It's affordable. You can get them now because, of course, the HLRs come out, and the HLR is the new 5. But the RIP TKO, 100% recommend. It hits my mark perfect, and I'm a 29-inch draw length, 29.5 on, depends on what bow, but definitely recommend the RIP TKO. Last but not least, let me tell you the arrow that disappointed me the absolute most. The Victory HLR. I was stoked when I saw this arrow. I thought that this was going to be hands down the best arrow made. In fact, I wasn't even going to get in the Easton 5.0s because I was 100% in on the HLR. And I think I've bought a dozen, maybe a dozen and a half. But I don't think they're anywhere near as tough as the RIP. I don't think they're as tough as the Easton 5.0. However, they shoot so good. They shoot phenomenal. Like I'm running these out of my Realm SR6. The Easton 5.0s I'm running out of my Bowtech Revolt X, and I was shooting these things out to 90 yards, and with that SR6, as fast as that bow is, like, I'm not even running into the fletchings. I think, personally, the GPI on this hits a better mark than the 5.0. I like the woven shaft. This comes with a 1.5, so it's not a 1 like the Ultraview. It's not a 3, so it's kind of like, it's like the budget Ultraview, in my opinion, that's lighter. It's the Ultraview light GPI. This is that half-out system that Victory came out with. I've had them snap off. When the arrow breaks, it breaks. It does come spinal lined, but I'm not going to say it's a bad arrow. It does come in right above the Ultraview, or right after the Ultraview. I'm not going to say it's bad. I do like them. It's just not my favorite arrow right now. And I just wish that the RIP TKO could hit this mark, because if it would, it would be awesome. I think that it's just not as tough. If I could run, I may even try a hit insert with this, because I think that might be some of the issues that I've had. But yeah, this is going to have, so you get your 50 grain stainless steel outsert, 200 grain or 200 spine, 250 spine, 300 spine, 350 spine, 400 spine, and a 500 spine. 9.8, 8.7. Most of us shoot a 300 spine, so this one's going to pertain to us. The 8.1, 350 is 7.3, 6.9, and 6.5. So you're going to get a super light arrow. And it's going to shoot really good. But if you miss, there's a very, 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 very high chance you're going to break this shaft, in my opinion. I've talked to Victory about them. I'm going to hunt with these probably with my backup bow, which is the Realm. I may even hunt with them. I got to see how they're going to do with the bare shaft, but I do know the tune for the 5.0, so if I have to go with the 5.0, that's not a big deal either. I really like the 5.0. The one thing that I do trust more about this than the 5.0 is the woven carbon. I've already kind of spoke on that. I prefer a woven carbon shaft. It's just what I prefer. Once again, I'm running the Blazer Veins. These are actually those new Knocks from Easton. So it's not my favorite. Even though it's not my favorite, I still have like this love affair with them that I feel like I'm gonna have to shoot them and I'm gonna like them once I hunt with them. And once I really get in with them, I think that I'll maybe change my mind, but as of right now, they're not my favorite. Like, I mean, I'm still picking, I would pick the RIP, the VAP, the Ngulebe, the X10, of course, and the 5.0 before I picked this shaft. However, I've talked to a lot of people, and they've said nothing but great things about them. But yeah, so when it comes to these arrows, it's all personal preference. So if you're die-hard Victory, be Victory. If you're Black Eagle, go with the Black Eagle. If you want an X Impact, go with an X Impact. I've shot X Impacts. 100% will never shoot them again. I did not like their outsert system for broadhead tuning. Great, probably the easiest system, but I'm not a Black Eagle fan. But to each is their own. I'm not gonna say that they're just the worst out there. I've never really shot gold tips at all, but I can show you this. So here's a little bit of what happens when so you got somebody driving by on a golf cart. So this is a snapped off Easton 5.0, right? So that went into a wall and it snapped it off. It didn't break it whenever it went through. Here is an HLR from hitting the same thing that this Easton Easton X10 hit. I'm not going to specify what it was. Granted, this does have aluminum on the inside, but the way these shafts snap, it's just, like I said, I don't think I've ever broken a RIP TKO. But yeah, so this is just kind of some of the differences that you can run into. This one I just pretty much hit with a practice broadhead, so that's not that thing's fault. But yeah, like I said, I'm not dogging the HLR. It's like I said, it's not my favorite, but I think for everybody, whenever you choose an arrow, like, you have to decide what kind of arrow that you really want. Like, what's your desired GPI, what's your desired arrow weight, and then go from there. So if you are a light and fast, then, you know, the HLR, the Ngulebe, the 5.0, I'll even throw the RIP in there for, you know, to entertain that. Even the VAP, like, I think those are super great options. If you're a heavy arrow guy, you know, the VAP would still be in there. The X10's obviously going to be in there. The Ultraview is going to be in there. And really the Ultraview, this is the beauty of it. Like, I've listened to a few podcasts with the Ultraview guys, and I think they are innovative. And I think whenever they come out with something, they make it very aesthetically pleasing. But if you're a heavy arrow guy, the Ultraview and the X10 are hard to beat. I think I would still go with the X10 just because I have a love affair with them. But the Ultraviews look phenomenal. They're going to be, I mean, if you're the ooh-ah guy, the Ultraview is definitely going to be your thing, because everybody knows the Ultraview. They know the slider, they know the button, they know everything about Ultraview. The X10 is kind of like in the background. There's a lot of guys who shoot them, but that's really what you have to decide on, is what you like. This is all my personal opinion. It's not saying that they're bad. It's not saying that they're good. They just hit my mark. I've shot them a lot, and that's what I've come down to. I'm not gonna even say that the Easton 5.0 is the toughest arrow out there. I really truly think that the RIP TKO is probably the toughest arrow made. It stays consistent. I mean, RIP, that's why it's always my default. Someone doesn't know what they want, RIP TKO right away. RIP TKO. But like I said, I am going to be hunting with the HLR and the Easton 5.0. I'm going to get to hopefully see what the Ngulebe has to offer this year. I will be running the Atlas vanes. I've really fallen in love with the Atlas vanes. They just, if you do have an the vanes come back. The Air Razors did not. They're not a very forgiving vane. They're very quiet. They're very light. So that's even why I put them on the Ultraview. And I think I have them on the RIP. Yeah, so the RIP TKO even has them. These are the Air Razor Pros. They're real small. Didn't really care for those too much. But yeah, so I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions about them, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I'll check it, or try to check it. I know that I haven't posted a video in a long time, but all of these arrows I've tried and I've put through a lot of shots. So if I can help you save a little bit of money, then that's my goal here. And to kind of educate on what someone that may not be into archery yet or is getting into archery, they have an idea of what they're walking into when they see a pro shop. Because a lot of pro shops, I luckily have a really good one. They're not biased towards anything, but they'll go in there and they have like a specific brand that they shoot that they like, and that's great. But it may not be what you like, and it may not be what I like. But this way you kind of have an idea of what each arrow, and a lot of these, I mean, almost every one of these is a Victory arrow or an Easton arrow. And that's just what I've fallen on. I've shot Black Eagles. Like I said, I probably will never shoot them again, but that's just personal preference. But I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions, like I said, leave it down in the comments. If I can figure out how to get the comments back on. I figured it out the last time, but I haven't posted a video in a while. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. And y'all have a great rest of your day.